Okay, we are in record mode. I've got the lines muted out. We do have some ladies so far on the line here live joining us. So I have you muted out, but the chat function is open. So feel free to chat in at any time. I would love to know if there's anything in particular you'd love to hear me speak to, and any thoughts and feedback, as we dive in today's final training here in the Simple Truth series. And I'm your host for this series, Chrissy Key Rollins. And I did introduce myself on the last video a little bit more in depth. But for those of you who aren't already familiar with me and my work and what it is that I'm doing with this series and everything, I do intuitive healing and mindset coaching for conscious entrepreneurs. And really, I just pinned this down yesterday. My whole focus and mission, I help people build business to facilitate their own self-healing. So it's taking your self-healing journey, your spiritual journey, and just taking it to the next level through answering your soul's calling and figuring out how to put together a basic, simple, aligned business structure that gets results. And again, it's aligned. It's aligned with your heart, with your spirit, with your ethics, with your morals, and with what it is that you came here to do in this life. Because I have found over my past decade, actually, it's going to be 11 years, in just 2 months from now will be my 11-year mark of being a conscious entrepreneur. And, conscious entrepreneurs, we just do it a little different. We feel big, we vision big, we want to make a big impact on this world, but we're not money driven. So we often have a hard time following those traditional business models. And through this series in particular, hey, welcome, Joanne. Glad you could join us live. I do have the lines muted out, but the chat feature is open, so feel free to chat in at any time. But I have found that this old traditional paradigm for business is kind of an outdated model for today's conscious entrepreneur. And we've got to find a different groove in order to not quit our daydream and go back to the traditional business structures that are predominant in today's society. So through this series, I have been bringing to you all of the simple truths to what is really needed to find your success as a conscious entrepreneur. And this series is focused on the basic mindset, those foundational pieces that are kind of lying behind the scenes, like behind what you can see happening when you watch somebody's success. They're the foundational pillars that you have to stand and build everything else on top of. So I've got the mindset pieces interwoven, and then practical, actionable business structure steps that you can take to begin to create your own natural, organic, authentic structure for your flow to go. Because I have found, and anybody who's in the Consciouspreneur Club, you probably are already familiar with the free 5-day Transform Fear into Confidence challenge that happens every month in that group. The next one starts this coming Monday, October 2nd. So I hope that you can join that if you haven't taken it. And if you have taken it, I invite you to retake it. Every time that someone takes this challenge, we just get a little bit deeper, get more clarity, more confidence. It's really a powerful thing to go through more than once. But as you'll find through that series, the one determining factor on if we take action or not really comes down to our level of confidence. So when you have that structure, that basic structure in your business so that you always know where that flow is going to go, it ups your confidence level because you always know what that next step is. So no matter if you're standing in line at the grocery store, or if you're hosting an online event, or if you're engaging with somebody one-on-one that's a potential client, you always know what you're going to do, what you're going to say, where you're going to take them to, but not in a rigid way. I'm actually starting to get chills as I'm speaking on this. So I know that this is something that's really hitting home for a lot of people. But not always know what to do in this structured form that's all about you and how you need things to happen, but one that is much more organic and flowing and malleable and can fit the person that you're working with without losing touch of who you are, without losing your true authentic nature. Because as you'll find through this series, that you are the secret ingredient. You are the magic. You are what everything that your business is built around. And the way that I like to teach business building is that it just allows your business to be you more fully expressed in the world. So you're not a rigid structure. Why would your business be that way? It's one that should be organic, allows flow. And for us conscious entrepreneurs, we like to do what feels good to us. It's one that feels good. It doesn't just feel good to us, it feels good for the person who's on the receiving end. Again, regardless if they're just watching us from a distance or if they're kind of coming up close and asking more questions about what we have going on. So just to do a small little recap from the start of this series that led us up to this point, this is the final training in this series. And again, if you're here live on the chat, I see we've had some more people join us, so welcome, so glad that you're here. The chat feature is not open, so I would love to know anything that you would love to hear me speak to as we have our time together today around this topic of ditching the pitch, how to make sales a natural, organic, feel-good, authentic, aligned process instead of something that you have to make happen. And one that just allows you to, again, have sales conversation be a natural flow of the conversation instead of something that you have to set up or initiate in that not so feel good, hey, I've got something, do you want it kind of way that most of us conscious entrepreneurs avoid like the plague. And if we do find ourselves doing it, it just a lot of times isn't a really great fit. So that's what I'm going to be speaking to. But how do we get to this point? How do we get to the point of actually engaging where we have this offer to put out there into the world and we're lining up conversations to have with people or figuring out what's the next step in the promotion process? So we started this out by really getting clarity and confidence and consistency in place, because that is the foundation for everything else to be built upon. And that's where we started this series. I invited you to decide and declare right then on day one that you are now a success. This is the month that it all changes for you. And if you have been following along in this series, I've been giving you all those mindset and action steps needed to create that consistency, to build that confidence, and to help you find that clarity, that all-elusive clarity that we've been searching after and that you've been searching after. And in the first training video, I set all that up with the first like day 0 pre-training video. And day 1, the first training video of this series, we really dove deep into what I feel every conscious entrepreneur needs to know before they get started on this journey or as they're navigating this journey. And I touched on different things like this is a very lonely journey. It's very isolating and it's very lonely, especially if you are a solo entrepreneur, as most of us are. We have all this stuff that's happening inside of us, and we're the only ones that are feeling it. We're the only ones that are thinking it. And even if we surround ourselves with other people who are our loved ones and supportive, if they're not in this entrepreneurial journey too, they just don't know what it's like. So we can feel very isolated. We can feel very alone. And that's why it's so important that we commit to this journey like never before. And I also offered you a different perspective on ownership, how to disassociate yourself from your business while also understanding that you are the very foundation of your business. So I offered you this insight of looking at your business as a ship and understanding that you are not the ship, you are at the helm of the ship. And it's your job, your mission to be a steward of that ship and to navigate the waters, not control the ocean, which is what I think a lot of us spiritual entrepreneurs tend to do. We've had a lot of law of attraction training. We've had a lot of manifesting training. And so we get this idea in our head that is our responsibility to control the tides. That is not our job. Our job is not to control the tides. Our job is to steer the ship and to understand the motion of the ocean so that we don't freak out and abandon ship whenever the seas get a little rocky, and that we don't take on more than our fair share of responsibility for our mission and what it is that we're bringing forward. And in that training, I also brought forth this really rich, powerful idea and concept of partnering with yourself during this journey, becoming your own best business partner and showing up as somebody that you would want to have succeed in life and that you would want to support in succeeding to see this mission through. In the second training video, we talked about mastering follow through, and in particular for, again, us conscious entrepreneurs, where we can only cattle prod ourselves into action so much, because cattle prodding doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, we're not going to do it. We're not. It's interesting. Even if we really, really, really want to do it, we're just not going to do it. So in Mastering Follow Through, I talked about how at the very core, the very root of follow through lies self-love. And if you're somebody who struggles with procrastination, struggles with follow through, you can try to put together the best systems in the world. You can invest all of your time, money, and energy in trying to find that system so that you can finally get over your habits of procrastination, your lack of follow through. But the best systems in the world are going to sit there unused until you love yourself enough to get into action. And it's not a matter of self-love in order to get something on the other side. It's a matter of relaxing and understanding that you always deserve more love, not less. And as you love yourself, you will find that you will naturally begin to follow through on what it is that your heart desires as a natural side effect of that self-love, as a demonstration of that self-love, which is such a different energy, such a different vibe. It just feels different even saying it out loud right now than doing in order to get. When your doing steps become a byproduct of your self-love, watch out, because that's where you start to sink into that unstoppable flow that's possible at any time. So we also talked about mastering your time. So if you're somebody who struggles with having enough time to do everything that you really want to do, definitely go back and check out that second training video. And that second training video, Mastering the Art of Follow Through, it really is where you start to begin to lean into being more proactive versus reactive in your life. And if you find yourself as somebody who's reactive, you don't start looking for clients until you find yourself without any. You don't start hustling to make money until you find yourself without any. You don't start eating right and exercising until you find yourself overweight. If that's you, because how we do one thing is how we do everything, you're living a reactive life. And as you love yourself, as you start to ground, as you start to settle your soul into your physical being, you will find yourself shifting from being reactive to proactive. And that's where the magic really starts to happen. In the third training video, it was focused all on finding clarity. Clarity is one of those things that we just seem to be searching for and searching for and searching for on our mission. Where is that clarity at? And I believe that clarity lies on the other side of self-trust. So the beautiful cycle that starts to happen as you put these pieces together is that you see self-love leads to follow through. Follow through builds your self-trust. Self-trust allows clarity. So if you're somebody who's struggling to get clear, I would invite you to explore building your self-trust over taking your time to try to figure out what that clarity is. The more you look for it, the more it's going to elude you, but the more that you can trust yourself and you can settle into a space to either take action with what you do have coming to mind, or even allowing yourself to settle into clarity. And clarity is where we start to be able to do more business strategic moves, like focusing on a specific tribe or audience or niche or target market to start talking and putting your message out to. And it's also what is going to allow you to start to have that shift from making it all about you. How do I feel? What do I want to do? What do I want to bring to the world? And as you start to identify who that market is, you can start to tap into them. You can start to find out what it is that they really want and help to bring it to them. You know that you can get them the results that they desire, but they don't know that you hold the answer. So unless you start speaking their language, you two are going to keep missing each other. And you'll think that it's you. There must be something wrong with you. But believe me, it's not you. You're awesome. And people see that, sense that, they feel that. They just don't understand how you can help them because you're too busy talking about you and what you're doing and why you're doing it and who you're doing it for and how you're doing it. And they could give a shit about that. They don't care at all about that. They don't care about the how. They care about the where. Where are you going to take them to? It doesn't matter how you go. What matters is what's that destination that you're going to arrive to. So when you can start to trust yourself enough to speak to a specific audience, build a relationship with that audience, and begin to understand what their major challenges are and where it is that they're really desiring to go, there's your clarity piece right there. It will just be a total game changer. And don't worry about picking the right thing because you're an evolution and so is your business. So what is more powerful and what I invite you to consider doing is that once you get an idea of something that kind of feels right to you, go ahead and start putting that out there without fear that you're going to look silly if you change things up. Everybody changes things up. Since you've been following me, I've changed things up. It's just what happens because, again, your business is an evolution just like you. And if you can just get that ball rolling, then you can always learn how to course correct down the road. But that takes a high level of self-trust. So if you're not actually firing and you're stuck in the ready aim position, go back to that self-trust because it's going to bring the clarity. The clarity is going to bring the confidence, and confidence is going to bring the action. On the fourth training video, the last one that we did, it was all about attracting and supporting your tribe. We talked about figuring out what services to bring to the table, packaging those services, figuring out a pricing for those services. We talked about Facebook groups. We talked about what they're for and what they're not for, why you should have them, why you shouldn't have them. And we also talked about cohesion in your messaging, how a lot of us have so much that we're bringing to the table. We have so much great information that's out there, but we're lacking simple cohesion to tie it all together. So people are like, wow, that's great. Wow, that's great. Wow, that's great. But there's no strategy or cohesion to have a fluent, ongoing conversation. And that is why I shared with you how you can create 48 weeks of content in under an hour. And if you're somebody who struggles with content creation, I definitely recommend that you check out that video. It's a really powerful and simple way to create content that allows you to have a cohesive, ongoing conversation. And then the last thing we touched on in that video is about emails and Facebook posts and how do you find that balance between being vulnerable without being a little too vulnerable, and also how can you be vulnerable yet empowered? How can you use or allow your vulnerability to be something that invites people to take that next action step instead of just, hey, here's my offer, or hey, here's a vulnerable post that may make you question my ability to deliver on what it is that I say I'm going to deliver. So definitely go back, check out those previous training videos. This is my gift out. I plan on keeping these videos available. I plan on keeping them free. I plan on keeping them something that you can access over and over again. So definitely check them out. And today, without further ado, we're talking about ditching the pitch. Ditch that sales pitch. Get rid of it. Throw it out the window. The scripts that all the multi-level marketers have been trained to give, the scripts that you've gotten in all your previous sales training. Now, let me just say this. If they're working for you, keep doing it. Keep doing it. If they've been working for you, keep on doing it. If they haven't been working for you, or if you haven't gotten yourself to actually do them, you might want to try this method instead. And Frankie, I see you got your hand raised, babe. I'm going to unmute your line so you can speak out.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Hey, I can, Chev. Good to see you.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm in London. This is the first time I've ever been on a Zoom call. So I just wasn't sure how the whole thing worked. So I was just raising my hand basically to say, oh, how do I ask a question? But I guess I just look at you directly.
Yeah, if you are somewhere where you have, a clear background and a good connection, I'm happy to open up the line so we can take a live question. And otherwise, when I mute you back out, then you can always use the chat feature as well. There should be a little button that says chat, and then you can just chat in your questions, and I can read them as I'm going along.
Oh, that's really weird. I don't have chat.
Okay.
Maybe because I'm on my phone.
It may be a little bit different on your phone. So that's totally fine. You can speak out.
All I have is raised hand, but yeah, if I have a question, I'll ask later. And lovely to see you.
Perfect. It's lovely to see you. I'm so glad that you could join us. I was excited when I saw your name pop up. I was like, yay, Frankie. Beautiful. Okay, Chev. Yeah, just raise your hand and I'll open it back up. For sure. I would love the interaction.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. Muting you back out. All right. And yes, I saw a couple other people have jumped on the line. So welcome. Feel free to use that chat function. And you can also, if you want to speak out like Frankie just did, you can just do the raise your hand and I will get to you. Okay. And I'd love to know for anybody that's on the call live, if you have anything in particular you'd love to hear me say about this non-sales pitch sales approach, or any feedback as I'm delivering the information, I welcome it. I'd love to know that what I'm saying is resonating, that it's making sense, and if you want me to deepen it or take it in a different direction, I'm all yours. So please utilize those, and I'm glad that you're here for the live. And everybody who's watching in replay, I'm glad that you're here too. And if you're watching in replay and you have questions, feel free. Comment below if you see this on Facebook or on YouTube. You can use the comments there, or you can always PM me or connect with me, and we'll take this conversation further. Okay, so when I think about a new approach to sales, it really builds on top of everything that I just recapped for you. Once you have that solid partnership with yourself, once you've cultivated that self-love, as you're getting into action as a demonstration of that self-love, as you're trusting yourself, building that self-trust and trusting yourself to have that clarity, and as you start to narrow down who it is that you really want to connect with, who it is that you really want to serve most, and also remember, clarifying your niche does not mean excluding other people from your services. You can still work with people outside your niche. Choosing a niche just means you speak to a specific audience. And this helps to teach people how you specifically work with people and how they can best refer to you. So it's really powerful. It's a total and complete game changer. Even if you stick with traditional sales tactics, it will really prepave the way so that more people can understand what it is that you're doing and who it is that you help and what you help people overcome, what end result you get people to. That is what people are buying. That is what people are interested in. That is what people are paying for. They're not paying for your time. They're paying for a result. They're not paying for your expertise. They're paying for your confidence and ability to get them to where it is that they really desire to be. So that is really how we start to pre-pave the way before we even get into the sales conversation. And it's not even a sales conversation. It really is a conversation that allows you to connect further to your potential client and be able to know exactly the best way to talk about what it is that you have to offer. And the old business model is this: figure out what you want to do, figure out how much you're going to charge for it, and then start telling everybody what you're doing. Just start telling everybody what you're doing. If you want to take that to the next level, then you start to tell everybody what you're doing in an education-based way, in a value-packed way, so that as you start to talk about your services, you're also educating that particular market as to why they need to think further, why they need to look in this direction, and starts to deepen that relationship, starts to leverage yourself as an expert, and is really where you start to kind of separate yourself from the crowd. And as I start to move you up here, separating yourself from the crowd, I don't mean you're getting like higher than or better than. I'm just saying you begin to leverage and position yourself as somebody who is a guide, who is an advisor, and somebody who is an expert, who has a wealth of information. Now, one of the things that holds a lot of conscious entrepreneurs back is that we think we need more training, and we're kind of waiting for somebody to give us permission to get into action. If you've made it to this point, believe me, you have permission to get into action. You actually do not need 20 years experience to be an expert of what it is that you're bringing to the table your first year in business. You don't. And if you think that you're not going to be able to be as powerful, make as big of an impact, or attract people because you don't have that backing, then believe me, you're just going to make this journey a lot more challenging for yourself, and it's not a truth of the situation. The truth of the situation is that you are an expert. You are. You are an expert from your own experience. The majority of conscious entrepreneurs that I work with, that I interact with, that I engage with, that I host in my community, which, by the way, if you're not a part of that, I invite you to come over to Facebook and join the Consciouspreneur Club. It's an amazing community. It's where I host the Transform Fear into Confidence Challenge every single month. So come check it out, join the conversation, join in on the challenge, share what it is that you have to offer. It's a great, safe community to really practice these concepts in. As you begin to build this conversation and build this relationship with your audience, it's going to be a total game changer. So instead of, this is who I am, this is why I do what I do, this is how I do what I do, this is what I charge for what I do, and do you want some? Instead, you're going to flip that all around. When you come from that space, you're really making it all about you. People are only so interested in you, and people are only so excited about your success. What they are most excited about is their results. Their results. So when you start the conversation, this is me, this is what I'm about, you're already losing people. This is why it's very important that you notice what audience it is that you best like to support. And most likely it's going to be somebody who really is a lot like you. And they're going to be like you before you became an expert in what it is that you have to offer. So you once were at a place where you were having some divine discontent in your life. You were having some kind of challenge, be it emotionally, financially, physically. You were facing some kind of challenge. A lot of us in this more natural world, we were facing some kind of health or healing crisis. Very, very common, right? Or we're approaching this, it could be health or healing crisis, could be a spiritual crisis, could be just this divine discontent, this feeling of, I don't know which way to go, something needs to change in my life, right? We're going to feel it on some level. You took action in some direction and you made changes in your life. You either took on a nutritional regimen, or you tried on a healing regimen, or whatever it is that started to get results in your life. It changed your life to the point you now feel inspired to tell other people about it. This is typically how the entrepreneurial journey gets started. So you had a profound impact on something. You said to yourself, the whole world needs to know this. And then you said, I'm going to start a business because of it. Trust yourself. This is why self-trust is key. This is why I did this Simple Truth series instead of an action-packed series. I can give you all the action steps, and I have throughout this series, but you're never, ever, 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 ever going to apply them and integrate them into your life until you get a solid level of self-trust. And it doesn't have to be, a huge level of self-trust to get things going. You just got to get that one little level of self-trust to get the ball rolling. And then that follow through is going to build more self-trust and more self-trust and more self-trust along the way. So trust yourself as the heart-centered person that you are. Trust yourself to be the expert that you are. You don't have to have all the answers. You only ever have to be a couple steps ahead of who it is that you're serving. So do not wait to have 20 years experience to start to market what it is that you have to do. Go ahead and trust that your personal firsthand experience with whatever it is that you're offering, and the experience that you've had in your own life, the integrity of the person that you are, the heart-centered big feeler that I know you to be, or else we probably won't really jive. Trust that. Trust the calling that your heart has. Trust it and put it out there. And I'm going to offer to you a way to flip it around. You know who it is that you want to support. You know what challenges they're having that they want to overcome. You know what end result they want to get to. Now it is time for a deeper conversation. And especially if you want to price your services higher up. The higher your services are priced, the longer you need to connect with a person before they're going to say yes and enroll with you. So if you have $1,000 or below service, you could do more of the traditional sales tactics. If you have $1,000 or above service, it's going to take a more in-depth conversation. Now, I would say if it's $100 or less, or I would say probably $300 or less, you could probably get away with just, copy on a website, maybe a brief little informational video. They can get a little taste of you, and it's a lot easier for them to say yes, to either book that session or to buy that product if it's under $100. Once you start to get around $300 up to $1,000, you're definitely going to need a more in-depth conversation. Now, you can have this conversation the way that I'm having this conversation with you right now. You can do it over a live event. You can do it over creating your own video. You can do it live and in person, or you can do it through a series of messages that take them on a deeper journey. So for anybody who is thinking about how do you put together the pieces for a launch, this is something that you definitely need to consider. Who is your audience? What challenge are they having? What end result do they want? Now, how can you engage with that person so that they can begin to build an understanding of your level of confidence, your level of expertise, and your ability to move them over their challenge and get them to that end result? Now, this conversation can be had, again, where you are the one that's giving out the information. If you are somebody who doesn't like necessarily putting out live streams, like I'm very comfortable doing this. It's a great method for me to connect with more than one person at a time. The majority of services that I offer right now are $1,000 or less. So it's a really a comfortable way for me to engage with my audience in this way. And I pack a lot of value. So I know that if you engage with what it is that I have to offer that is talking about what I have to offer, you're going to walk away with value. And that's the way that I like to interact with people. That's why last video we were talking about emails and Facebook posts that are engaging and prompt people to take action. Because if you're just saying, hey, I have this offer, people probably aren't even going to keep reading it. We are of a time and age where we have so much access to so much information that we can get content from anywhere. People want to personally connect with you, and they want to get value out of their time with you, regardless if they move forward or not. And for me, being heart-centered, being conscious, being aligned and authentic in what it is that I'm doing in my business, as soon as I moved away from the basic who, what, when, where of my offers and got into this more value-packed, education-based way of engaging with people to make an offer, it just changed. It changed everything because it was so much more aligned with what my true calling is, which is to help people. And if you're like me, you probably would help people at no charge if you could still live life, pay your bills, take your vacations, do the things that you want to do for yourself and for your family. So if you're somebody who really is like, I would just do this all for free, this is a really great method to start to offer an invitation to engage with you further instead of just offering a service. So whatever it is that you find out that your audience wants to overcome, whatever challenge it is that they want to overcome, whatever end result that they want to come to, as soon as you know that, you now know exactly how to speak to that audience and how to start to engage with that audience and have a conversation with that audience. So all of your messaging, all of your marketing, all of your offerings, everything speaks to overcoming this challenge and getting to this end result. You cater your emails to that, you cater your Facebook post to that, you make all of your offers going in that direction. And if you want to make a higher investment, which I highly recommend, I'm a big fan of high-end investments. I'm a big fan of high-end offers because you start to play at a different level. So I do have a high-end offer. It is to work one-on-one with me. If I'm going to engage with someone about the potentials of working one-on-one with me, it is not a service that I sell outright. Even if someone were to say, hey, Chrissy, I hear that you charge X amount of dollars for your services. I'm ready to pay you right now. Can we get started? I still would say, I would love to get started with you, but first we're going to have a conversation. Having a conversation first sets you and your potential client up for success. Having a conversation first lets you know what it is that the person really, really wants. They might think that you're a great fit for what it is that they want, but you don't know that until you engage with them, until you have a conversation. So when I started to shift my focus from booking clients to booking conversations, game changer. First of all, I don't know if I can book a client. I do know that I can have a conversation. So it upped my confidence level. It allowed me to set aside my own personal agenda and focus my attention on service, which is, again, much more aligned with why I'm doing this to begin with. That's why when we make it all about ourselves, it feels so off. When you can align what it is that you're putting out there with what your heart's true intention is, which is service, then you start to get better results. The energy changes, your confidence level changes. It all begins to change. It all starts to shift in a different direction. And, you know, whenever you think about it this way, and I talk about this in the Transform Fear into Confidence Challenge, when you meet somebody on the first day, you're not going to ask them to marry you. So you can't do the same thing with a potential client. You need to respect that relationship just like you would a dating relationship or any other relationship in your life. When you first meet somebody, you're probably not going to just invite them into your home, expose them to your kids, and get this whole, open thing going on. You're going to build some trust. You're going to build some relationship. You're going to get to know that other person. And when it's just you with your service, with your offer, putting your pitch out there without considering what people are looking for, it's going to be a bunch of you talking about you. It's probably not going to feel good. It's probably not going to get a high level of engagement. But when you flip this around, when you get into the heart and soul of what it is that your people want, where it is that they want to go, where their struggles lie, and you partner that with a deep level of self-love, self-trust, a deep awareness of your own self-worth and value, then everything starts to shift. And it's not just finding out what people want and then, kind of becoming that martyr of sacrificing everything about yourself, your prices, how you work with people in order to save and rescue that person. Instead, it's understanding that the person that you want, your ideal client, the best fit for you is the person who's ready to take action, is the person who's ready to overcome that challenge, is the person who is ready to get to that result, not the person who needs to overcome that challenge, not the person who needs that result. Just like you are finding in your own business, there's a difference between wanting to start a business and actually doing it. It takes a different level of commitment. The same thing is true whenever we're engaging in services, being on the receiving end or the giving end. We say yes to those things that we're ready to take action on. We say yes to those things that we know are going to help to move us forward. And we can only know those things whenever we are in touch with what it is that we want. So if you start your conversations by not, hey, this is what I have to offer, but instead saying, before we even get to what I have to offer, and in fact, we might not even get to what I have to offer by the end of this conversation. But before we get into that, I want to get to know you. I want to know where it is that you really want to be at. What really makes your heart sing? I say this often to my clients. If you could just wave that proverbial magic wand, if you could just snap your fingers and bam, we're sitting at the end of the year. We're sitting at the end of the month. We're sitting 6 months from now. We're sitting 1 year from now, whatever, right? If we could just snap those fingers and life could get as good as our mind would allow for it to be, what would that look like for you? What would that feel like for you? What would your day-to-day life experience be like in that space? Allow your potential clients to indulge into what it is that they really want. Help them to get in touch with that future vision. Sometimes people don't like to go there. In fact, 90% of the people that I have this conversation with, when I say, what is it that you want for your future? They say, well, right now in my life, this is everything that I have going on. That didn't freaking answer my question. It doesn't, but it just shows you where people are at. They're not allowing themselves to get into the vision of having because they fear the disappointment of not being able to get there. The reason they're not buying your supplements is not because they don't think it works. It's because they don't think that they're going to be able to do it consistently. That is the number one reason. The number one reason why people say no, let me say it this way. The number one excuse that people say when they say no to investing with you is that they don't have the money. Can't afford to. That sounds really awesome, but I don't have that money right now. I don't know. I'll have to check with my husband. I'll have to check and see if we can do this financially. I hadn't expected to make this investment. Number one excuse that's given. And that is not the number one reason why people don't invest. It's just the number one excuse as to why they don't invest. The real reason why people don't invest is because they don't believe that they're going to get to the results that you promise. So they either don't believe that you're going to be able to get them there. More likely, they don't believe that they're going to be able to do whatever it takes to get there. So when people don't believe that they have what it takes, that's where we can do this service, pre-investment service of believing for them, of helping to up their belief, because we know it's possible. We know that if they can just get committed, that we can carry them through there. We know that we're the vehicle to take them there. We know that when it's a good fit, and only when it's a good fit. So we have to be able to go ahead and get into service mode first. And again, set our intentions to the side, set our agenda to the side. Because if you show up with an agenda, people know it. We're all so intuitive. We're all so empathic. We all feel each other's stuff. We all know these things. You know, what is it that one of my mentors called it? Commission breath. When somebody shows up with commission breath, you smell it. You sense it. You know what they're after. And we don't like how that feels. That's why we don't want to sell to other people. Even though we're not like that, It stops us from even opening our mouths and saying something that could change people's lives. I can't tell you how many conversations I've overheard and not stepped forward and offered a solution that I was sitting there with, just because I didn't want people to think I was being salesy or making it all about me, or that I was just after their money or looking to prey on them. We feel this way for a reason. And part of the reason that we're feeling that way is because, again, we're empathic beings. Our world, our earth, our society, we're going through massive shifts right now. And what we are feeling in our body, we're intuiting from other people. We are empathing from other people. People are tired of being taken advantage of. They do not trust the illusion of perfection anymore. That's why people are hungry for the way that us conscious entrepreneurs are doing business. They want it, they crave it, they desire it, because we need to get back to messy and not perfect, but authentic and real. That's what we need to do. People want that. They sense it. They need it. And when you start the conversation with, I can't help but overhear what you were saying about the health challenges that you're having, and I happen to have this nice, shiny solution for you over here, it feels like those other people. It feels like the ones that aren't integrity field, and it will evoke fear from the other person. And if you yourself are thinking, I hope it don't come across this way, you're holding that energy, and that energy is attached to what it is that you're saying, no matter how true your intentions are. If those fears and their self-doubt start to creep up, people sense it. They feel it, just like if you're trying to take advantage of them. So being able to instead say, I hear that you're having this struggle. I would love to know more about it. And better yet, tell me, what would your ideal vision be like? What would that ideal life be like? What type of experience are you really craving for yourself and for your family? Be able to get them in touch with what that vision is, and that in itself is a service, because there is a power in people holding the vision for us. So I know after every single conversation, I know every single person that I engage with is going to leave the time that we have together with value. I know that. And since I know that, it's so easy for me to offer to people, hey, do you want to connect further? Do you want to connect further? Do you want to connect further? It's so easy for me to pitch my services and to talk about my services and to promote my services, because they're not about me. They're about helping you overcome your challenge and getting you to the end result. And I am passionate about that. So it is so easy for me to do that, because I trust myself to bring forth powerful information. And I know that what I am putting out there is what you just told me you wanted. You just told me you wanted this. I just literally just today even, I went on Facebook Live real quick in my group, said, hey, I want to bring a bonus training. I had to postpone the training that I'm doing right now. I was scheduled for 2 days ago. My daughter got sick, so I canceled it. That's why I started my business to begin with. That's why I became my own boss, so that when my family needs something, I can keep them as top priority, and I don't have to wait for somebody else's permission to do so. So I had to postpone this training. As a result, I have a little bit of time open on my day to day, and I want to offer a bonus training just to say thanks. Thanks. I know some of you are looking forward to this training, so I want to over deliver. Another key thing, just over deliver, just give what they want and then more, right? I want to give you more. And I know what to give you because I'm in this constant conversation with you. And when I know that you're already looking for what it is that I'm talking about, it just makes it so much easier for me to talk about what I'm talking about. Get in touch with people. Find out what it is that they want. Find out what it is that they crave. Find out what that vision is that they really, really desire. And find out what they have going on right now today. What's life been like for you? Where are your struggles? Where are your challenges? What is the difference between where you're at and where you want to be? It's a tangible distance. You feel it in your life. Help them to get in touch with that. Help them to see it. And we don't do this to use it against them. We don't do this to leverage it. You know, this is a strategy, but trust yourself to use this strategy, because you're doing this with good intentions. You're an amazing person. So trust that. Get to know where their struggles are. Get to know where it is they desire to be. Have them self-identify what their challenges are. What is it that's holding them back from stepping into that vision of where it is that they want to be? Let them identify it. At that point, once you know where they're at, where they want to go, where they're challenged at, you're going to know if you can help them or not. It's going to be crystal clear. It's going to be so obvious. A lot of times it's a good fit. Handful of times it's not a good fit. At that point, you always have peace of mind, always have peace of mind, always have peace of mind, that you will talk about what it is that you have to offer in a way that supports where it is that they want to go. It's brilliant, really. It has allowed so much more ease. It's allowed so much more confidence, so much more power in what it is that I put out there, because I'm not sitting here saying, I hope they like this. I hope they're into this. I mean, I still got a little bit of that going on because I'm still human. You know, knowing this stuff doesn't negate you from all the feelings. It doesn't negate you from the human experience. There's still going to be fears. There's still going to be self-doubt. There's still going to be worries. It's part of the process. And if you're waiting for all that to go away before you take action, you're going to be waiting forever. You're going to be waiting forever. Being courageous doesn't mean you don't have fear. Being courageous means you feel the fear and you do it anyway. That's it. People who are successful don't not have self-doubt. They have self-doubt. They've just learned how to negotiate around it. They have a better relationship with themselves than they do with that doubt. And they're able to use that as a tool to move them forward instead of something that holds them back. But when I know exactly where your challenge lies, what result you want to go to, it is crystal clear to me on if I can help you. And it's crystal clear to me how I need to help you, the best way to help you. And then I'm able to talk about my services from that perspective. And when this conversation happens in the way that it typically happens for me, majority of the time, the person that I'm talking to ends up asking me about my services before I even get there. And I didn't spend the whole time coaching them for free. I didn't give away anything. I gave them a piece of my time because my time is worth, or they are worth my time. It is worth my time to have this conversation, because I'd rather have this conversation on the front end and only bring in clients that are a perfect fit than to just take the roll of the dice that whoever just sent me that PayPal payment will actually be able to get to the results that I know are possible for people. This pre-screening process, it is natural, it feels good, and definitely, believe me, if you want to be charging a premium service of $1,000 or more, you definitely need to be having this conversation. Now, I feel that if it's around $1,000 investment, you can have this conversation in a series of videos, kind of like what I'm doing, even though I didn't strategically align these videos to pitch to $1,000 plus offer. I do have an offer that I'm going to make to you at the end of this, because I know that we're just scratching the surface. We can only scratch the surface in this, right? But more importantly, I have this message on my heart, and I knew that I wanted to get out there, and I knew that you were deserving of receiving it. And plus, I knew that you were hungry for it, because I've been having this conversation with y'all for a long time now, for months and months and months, maybe even a couple years now, probably 3 years now, if I really think about it, right? And it gives me so much more confidence. I know that I can engage with you. I know that I'm going to bring you value. I know that I can speak to your pain points. And I also know that there's no way that I can give you everything that I'm going to give you once we start to work together one-on-one. My particular gift is helping you with the integration process. So for me, it's pretty easy for me to throw out some concepts, because I know you're going to take some of them and run with them. And that's great. I want that to happen. And I know that you're going to take some of them, run with them, and you're going to hit some stumbling blocks with them, because that's part of the journey. And if you're somebody who's having that experience and you want a deeper integration, I have a couple different ways that you can have support to help to integrate these ideas. But more importantly, it lets me open my mouth. It lets me talk consistently about what it is that I have to offer. And it took me out of the equation, or better said, it put me in my proper role. It allowed my offerings to be the ship and me to be at the helm of the ship. And I don't have to sell myself. I get to sell my ship. So right now, I'm talking about my Simple Truth series. It's easy to pitch stuff that is free. I find it to be a little bit easier in the sense that, I don't know, you're asking for a different level of investment, different level of engagement with it. It's easy to talk about the free stuff, and it's fun to talk about the free stuff. There's like a different level of detachment, right? So having these conversations, you can definitely have them in a series of videos. You can have them in just one single video. I would say if you have a $300 or less offer, you could easily put out one single video and be able to front load that video with valuable content and information, and leverage it in a very natural way to talk about what it is that you have to offer. If you haven't noticed, but you probably have noticed, even in this one conversation that we've been having, I've told you about several things that I have to offer, but it felt natural. It felt right. It was like just the flow of a conversation. And because I know the massive value that my offerings have, I'm excited to tell you about them. It's easy for me to talk about them because I'm also in touch with the real magic of what allows them to work, which is that they're going to help you to overcome a challenge and help you to come to an end result. So it just clarifies everything and just makes the process so much more simple. And the number one fear that conscious entrepreneurs have is sounding salesy. It's like the top fear that we have. And has anything about this felt salesy to you? It hasn't felt that way to me. I know there's still a few people that are here on the live training. So if anybody wants to chat in, I'd love to know if this is resonating with you, if you're finding this helpful, if you've heard this before, if there's anywhere that I can kind of clarify while we're engaged right now. I would love to be able to do that for you. But this approach allows that fear of sounding salesy to just go out the window entirely. Because to me, sounding salesy is more of that old paradigm. This is what I got. This is how much it is. This is why you should do it. But when instead the conversation is, tell me more. Tell me more about your challenge. Tell me more about what it is that you like to be, where you would like to be at. Then I know that I can just say, hey, you just told me you're having this challenge. And you just told me that you'd really love to be at this end result. One of the ways that I work with people is by helping them overcome this challenge. I have found that this is at the root of the challenge. So I've created a series of exercises or, series of sessions that allow us to address this. And in the end, majority of the time, this is the end result that we're landing in. This is where I find that my clients come to over and over again. Now, you just told me this is important to you, and I just showed you that this is a way to do it. Do you want to talk about what that logistically would look like? Like the actual details, sessions, delivery, investment? Do you want to have that conversation? Typically at that point, it's simple. It's a no-brainer. No-brainer. I mean, even if people get into the conversation not having any intention, because I've done this as well. I've had people say, Chrissy, I came onto this call committed to not making an investment no matter what happened in this conversation. And I got to tell you, I want to work with you. How can we get started? Because it's a game changer. People feel the vibe. They feel the vibe. They sense it. They know that it's different because you're different, right? Joyce says she's taken pages of notes. Yay. I'm so glad that this is resonating with you and being helpful for you. So glad. I'd love to know anything that you're taking away, any of the ahas. I would just love to know. Okay. So switch it around. Before you pitch anything, have a conversation. So if you're looking to get more engaged, then maybe instead of having, hey, this is my fancy Facebook post with a nice little story and here's a little value sprinkled in and here's my offer at the end, what if you just focused on posting everyday questions that engage further? Questions that open conversations. Now, first of all, people don't like big questions. Don't ask them, what's your biggest dream? Chances are nobody's going to respond. Ask them questions that are really easy to answer. Give them two options, this one or that one. And a lot of times that will prompt people to engage. So if you, instead of pitching your offer, ask a question that will help you to understand, again, help to engage them in understanding how you're going to help them overcome a challenge or get them to an end result. Ask those questions and then invite them to a deeper conversation. One of the things that I do, which is very natural, very authentic, I just look to see what people are talking about. And when people are talking about something that I can contribute to, guess what I do? I contribute. I just give it away. I give them the answer. From there, if they're like, wow, that was a really great answer, I really appreciate you taking the time to give that to me, then I can say, hey, do you want to talk further? And then take that conversation off the Facebook wall to a private message. In this day and age, the way that I was trained originally is to get them off Facebook and on the phone as quickly as possible. That may very well be a very efficient way to do it. It's not necessarily the way that always feels the most comfortable for me. So typically what I do is I invite them to connect further through a PM, through a personal message. And then from there, I might ask them more questions, or I might say, hey, I would love to know more about this. Would you want to hop on the phone or a video chat and tell me a little bit more about that? Majority of the time, especially when done in an authentically aligned way, majority of the time people say, yes, yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. And to me, again, it's worth my time. It's worth my time to continue this conversation, because even if that person doesn't become a client, because I'm not having the conversation to help them become a client. I'm not. I'm having the conversation to be of service, knowing that the right person is going to want to work with me. It's so brilliant, and it's so simple, and it so takes the pressure off of me, and it puts my responsibility, my ability to respond to the situation, in its proper place. In its proper place. So if we think about this lighthouse analogy, I've heard this used a lot. You know, lighthouses don't run around looking for people to save. They stand tall, they shine their light, and the ones that need to be guided by that light will see their light and be able to better navigate the waters and find them. So think about it in that sense. Instead of running around and trying to rescue everybody, if you can instead stand firm, you know, maybe you stand firm in different groups. I'm referring to Facebook a lot just because it's the top modality that I use. Modality, I don't know if that's the right word. The top resource that I use for engaging with people. I have a small child. I'm just now starting to get out and starting to network and connect with people in person again. So for the past several years, I've used Facebook to make majority of my connections. Majority of my friends, I don't know who you are. We've never met in person, but I love you dearly, and you're all over the world, and so are my clients. So it's allowed me to connect with people that wouldn't be in my backyard, and it has allowed me to fit my connecting time into my life, which is, again, why I started my own business instead of working for somebody else. Joy says, I'm appreciating the structure. Perfect. That's what I really like to do, Joy, and I know that you know this about me and my work, but that's the way I look at it. It's like, how do we develop just a structure? Like help you to find your path to developing your own structure, just so we got these little notches in place. So when people show up, you know exactly where they're going. You know exactly what they're doing. So challenge yourself. And I invite you to challenge yourself that the next time you overhear somebody's conversation and you feel that desire, like, oh my gosh, they would be perfect. I know that my essential oils would help them. I know that my Reiki services would help them. I know that my massage services, or, you know, whatever product it is that you have to offer, if you know that what you have is something that could potentially help them, instead of pitching that offer, try pitching a further conversation and see what happens. Now, I've used these conversations. They're great for high-end investments. They're also great for low-end investments. It is time-consuming. Like, if you think about the time that you take, if you engage with somebody for an hour and then you enroll them, I'm just telling you from my own personal experience, because I have a mastermind group that right now, currently, I have the taping of this video, because it's going to change in just a couple of months. But currently, in 2017, you can join my mastermind for just $33 a month. I've had a lot of one-on-one conversations that end up just enrolling into $33 a month. So yeah, I just spent an hour of my time for a $33 investment, but to me, it was worth it, because I didn't know, would they be a candidate for a higher end investment or not? And that's another caveat as well. Don't pitch them what they're not a good fit for, no matter how much money you need. Don't pitch them the amount that you need somebody to invest in. Pitch them what they're a great fit for. I have plenty of people that I would love to work one-on-one with, but quite honestly, they're not at that point. That's why I created my mastermind. It's a great place to get a high-end level of support for a low monthly investment, or a low upfront investment. If you prepay, you save even more. It's a great way to continue to get support, to be able to ask questions, and to be part of a community to keep the ball rolling, but they're not necessarily ready for a 6-week intensive with me or a 3-month focus with me. Oh, Joy, you have a question? I will unmute you, babe, and you can speak out if you would like to, because I'm not sure how else to do this. So I've got you unmuted.
Okay, thanks, honey. My question is, how do you handle relationships with people where, like, the line between friendship and business?
So you're talking boundaries, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a great question. And I think it's something that kind of comes from being in touch with what your own core values and intentions are. For me, the best way that I've been able to establish and honor boundaries has been getting in touch with what my core values are. So since I'm aware of what my core values are, then I'm able to more easily make decisions and honor boundaries that will honor what those core values are. And first of all, if you're having frustrations in your business, if you're feeling drained from your business, and not necessarily you, Joy, but anybody who's watching, if you're feeling this drainage, start to pay attention, because wherever you're feeling really drained is where you need to tighten up your boundaries. Where you're not having fun, you need to tighten up your boundaries. Where you're feeling frustrated, it's where you need to tighten up your boundaries. Because what ends up happening is that it's like, this situation's frustrating me. Chances are there's something that you could be doing more proactively to help to keep those boundaries in place. Now, I know that there's lots of people out there that are very staunch on that line between getting too relaxed and too comfortable with your clients, to where they think that they're friends, and then they kind of like overstep those boundaries, and then they're asking for too much, or they're wanting too much, or they're wanting to ask that quick question but never really ever paying for what it is that you have to offer. This can get really tricky, because when that giving and receiving get out of balance, everything's going to feel off. So part of being able to have those boundaries in place is getting in touch with those core values. And it's also about cultivating that level of self-love, that you can be proactive in speaking up for what you need, and understanding that the only way you're truly going to reach your goal of service to yourself and to others is by honoring those boundaries. So it can be very tempting to continue to answer questions, and to continue to kind of give free support, and to continue to kind of entertain people in this way. But in truth, you're going to be doing so much more, providing so much more of a service. And Joy, I'm actually going to mute you back out, because I'm getting a little bit of feedback on the line, but then when I'm done talking, I'll open it back up. Okay, so you'll be doing so much more of an authentic service to them if you can lovingly call them out on it. And this isn't call them out like, you're doing this and it doesn't feel good, so I'm going to stop it, but give them the opportunity to see what's happening. So what can happen for me a lot, being a coach, you know, I can have people that engage in my work, and then they just want to ask me a quick question. And then they might even have had a clarity session with me, or a deeper conversation. So, you know, I know what they have going on. They know that I know what they have going on. And for whatever reason, they haven't taken that step to invest, but yet they still got a question, or they still got this, or they still got that. Being able to be an advocate for somebody is understanding the quality of question that they're asking, and also understanding how giving people the answer isn't really fulfilling their need. And what I mean by that is that, again, people are very aware of what they want. They're not aware of what they need, which is why they're not finding you. Because if they knew that you had the answer to what they were looking for, they'd stop looking and they would just work with you. So being able to have this conversation with people where they're able to get in touch with what it is that they really want, you're able to match it to what it is that they asked for, and then you're able to become an advocate to take a stand for it, to understand that that balance and that energy exchange has to be equal for them to really get what it is that they're looking for. When I look at things through that perspective, it allows me to better use more discernment in where I draw those lines. I'm a very loving person. I'm a very open person. I'm a very welcoming person, but I also have lines that I don't cross, and lines that I keep in place. And this isn't to keep people out. This is to honor the sacredness of what is happening whenever we really do engage and work together. So when I was able to connect to the fact that that I can't save somebody, I can't get somebody to results for them. This was very tricky in the coaching arena, because I had a tendency, or found myself kind of taking responsibility for the results that somebody else has, and kind of reflecting back my ability to serve them through the results that they got. I had to learn that it's not my responsibility to get people to results. It's my responsibility to show up for them and to bring the best of what I have to offer. And as I started to get in touch with that, I was able to put out there information and do things like this series. So it gave me, this series in my group gave me a way that when people wanted more, but they weren't in a place to invest with me, because either they believed that they couldn't financially afford it or they just weren't ready to commit to that level, then I would send them back to my groups. I'll send them back to this training series. I'll send them back to whatever free offering I have that can answer their question. Now, once they're at that point of asking a question that isn't something that I've already delivered through that medium, but instead is more of an integration question, then that's where I get to step forward and say, you know, I'd really love to help you with this, but it's not as simple as giving you an answer. In fact, the answer that I already gave you can be found here. And if you want to explore this deeper, then we'd have to look at setting up a couple of sessions. And while that might feel kind of awkward at first, to me, it was a lot easier to do once I knew that I had answers out there. So if you've got people that are asking questions and kind of wanting free services, then what I do is I take their question and I say, oh, great, that's such a great question. I'll be sure to address that in my next free training, in my next blog post, or here, I already addressed it in this past blog post. So then I point people to those directions and I allow them to help themselves. Because I used to think, well, if I could just lower my prices, or if I could just bend my boundaries or give them more, or make it work for them, then they'll get to the results. But really, in order to get to the results, they have to learn how to take that stand and work within the parameters that are already set there, especially when they're set fairly and balanced, as I know that we will do. And I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but I hope that I am. And I'm going to open up the line again to hear what you have to say. But when I was able to know that by me continuing to give and give and give and give, I wasn't helping them at all. Like basically, like if I lower my services, if I say, okay, it's going to be $1,000 for this service, I'm just going to make up numbers. And you're like, well, I can't really afford that. And then I'm like, okay, well, what if we did it for like $800? Would $800 work for you? I felt like I was helping them out. But what I found is that I am not helping them out. I am actually saying to them, you know what? You're right. I don't think that you're going to find this money. I don't think that this money is going to come to you. And I don't even know if $1,000 is really worth it. So why don't we try it for $800? So once we start to discount and we start to bend on our boundaries, we actually start to lose trust with the other person. And this happens on an energetic and a subconscious level. And when I understood that and started to understand that, then I could start to see the people who were coming up and challenging my boundaries were just giving me the opportunity to solidify and firm myself more, because I'm more of an advocate by saying, this is how it is, and I know that you can do this, then okay, let me still continue to help you. Let me still continue to believe your story of not enough over the actuality that there is more than enough, and that you're not going to be able to step into that until you can see it for yourself. So how can I support you in seeing it for yourself instead of how can I give you this thing that you think I need to give you, which is actually out of balance? Okay, I'm going to unmute you, Joy, and see if that's hitting the nail on the head.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, yes, 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 yes. I'm so glad, because I think that a lot of people really struggle with this, a lot of heart-centered people. Again, like I said earlier in this session, many of us, we do it for free. And that's kind of a problem, that we would do it for free. And I feel that a lot of us, we don't even have money issues as much as we have receiving issues. And we have such a desire to, and even if you're not consciously thinking this is what's happening on the energetic level for many of us. We're trying to prove our value. We're trying to prove our expertise. We're trying to prove our worth. We're trying to prove our wisdom through these tangible actions. When in truth, all of that's an inside job. It's something that happens internally. And the more that you anchor into that self-love, that self-trust, and that self-worth, the more you're able to see you can put whatever price tag you want and you're worth it. I know a gal right now that she has increased her fees since I've been following her over the past year or so. And I just found out the other day she's charging $15,000 to work with her for 20 sessions over 6 months. $15,000 for 6 months, 20 sessions. Right? That is a woman who's aware of her worth and her value. Mm-hmm. That is a woman who knows that she could never put a price tag on what the true worth of her work is. And she also knows, I'm getting chills just talking about this, she also knows that anybody who's willing to pay that price is super committed. Because I know from making high-end investments that I showed up bigger and more consistently, the bigger the investment was. Mm-hmm. While we think we might be doing them a service by helping them out, we're actually saying, I don't think you can do this on your own. So let me compromise myself so that I can help you to get it. And what we're really doing is searching for some kind of validation of our own self-worth and recognition, and we're working against ourselves.
So our loving boundaries are actually holding sacred space for them to
Yeah.
step up and shine.
Yeah. Yeah. We really have to honor that something sacred is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Something really big is happening. We know it. We felt it within ourselves when we started to experience the shift as a result of applying whatever it is that we're taking out there into the world. I mean, I don't know one person who's offering something that they haven't been firsthand affected by, not in our arena, not with us conscious entrepreneurs. And when we can understand that the value we got from it was because of the boundaries in place by whoever gave it to us, then we can be a good steward and we can honor that and we can pay it forward. This is a sacred thing that's happening. We are on a spiritual path. It looks like a business, but really it's a path of spiritual growth and development, as you and I know, Joy. I know that for sure. But when we can honor the fact that everybody is on their sacred spiritual path, and that part of what people need is not something free, but for somebody to believe in their worth and their value and their ability to attract the income that they need in order to take the steps that they want to, that's being of such greater service. And that's a great way to clarify who's ready or not. Because remember how I said the number one reason that people say no to offerings is because they don't believe that they're going to get the results that are being offered. That's the number one reason why. But the number one excuse is I can't afford. And when you stop to think about it, you'll realize this is true for yourself and for everybody else in the world. We always afford that which we're committed to. We always are able to afford that which we deem high enough of value and importance in our life. Now, we may not realize that some of these investments aren't really serving us, but we're committed to it. We're committed to going out to dinner once a week. We're committed to getting our nails done. We're committed to spending money in these ways that may not serve us as much as investing in somebody else's offerings, but we don't realize that we're doing it. So while someone says, I can't afford, they at the same time most likely will be spending money in another direction. And that's not to say there aren't people out there that really are tapped financially. Yes, this is true. But if this is you, there are shifts that need to happen so that you can open up more pathways so that more can come to you. And if you are somebody who struggles in this way, if you're struggling with that financial piece of the puzzle, if you're struggling with your ability to set boundaries, if you're struggling with your ability to give and receive and to balance that act within your business, because if you're giving and giving and giving and you're not getting reciprocated financially, you're going to burn yourself out. It's just going to happen. And so if you're somebody who's experiencing that giving, but you're not getting those financial pieces on the other side, you're still in this push-pull kind of relationship with money. You're excited to make money, but at the same time, you hate talking about money and you don't even like bringing up numbers for people to invest in your work or figuring out all that stuff. If that's you, I'm going to invite you to seriously consider checking out the 21-day money power shift. The final round of it is starting on Monday, October the 2nd. Right now, I'm in an early bird special mode. I'm going to be in early bird special mode till we kick it off. So until Sunday midnight, so midnight on the 1st of October, as of this recording, I don't know when people are going to be watching this replay, but as of Sunday, October 1st, midnight Eastern time, I'm going to be ending the early bird pricing. Early bird pricing is $222. You can split that into 2 payments where you can just pay $111 now and $111 30 days out. You can join with a partner and get in for just $333. You can even add that on as just another $111 payment. And starting, I guess, 12:01 a.m. on Monday, October 2nd, we're going to be at full pricing, the full pricing of $333. So you'll still be able to get in. You're just going to pay at the full pricing. And if you want a partner to join, it'll be $444, and totally reasonable. And this 21 days, it is a course on receiving. It's a 21-day money power shift, but where the power is going to shift is away from whatever is happening externally in your life that money's involved in that's causing discord within you. It's going to allow you to shift that power back over to you. So no matter how much money you have in your bank account or don't have in your bank account, no matter who brings up the topic of money, no matter what unexpected expenses happen, you stay in a rock solid peace of mind and thriving relationship with yourself throughout your financial experiences. So if you're somebody who's ready to put the end to that cycle of that push-pull, that love-hate relationship with money, you know that you need it, but you're not motivated by it. If this is you, and if you're struggling to have the boundaries, if you're struggling to have that consistent income, take on this 21-day money power shift. It will forever change your life. And if you go through all of it, you consume all the material, and you're like, Chrissy, this just didn't work for me, I will give you your money back, because I know that's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. And I know that because I tested this material out. I had 67 people go through the program before I am offering it at this level. And this is just like a pre-offer before I offer it in 2018 at a higher price. So now is the time to get in on this. Now is the time to take a look at this information. And you can check out all the details on my website. I set up a bit.ly. So that's bit.ly/money power shift. Just type that into your browser. The page will come up. You can sign up. Again, you can do it for $222, or you can split that into 2 payments. If you want to split it up, just let me know, and I'll get that link sent over to you for that. But check out the information. Every single person who went through the program said it forever changed their life. They forever took away something that will forever change the way that they deal with money. They either attracted more income opportunities throughout the program, or at minimum, they came out the other side with, for the first time ever, not being worried about money. And that is a huge game changer. That peace of mind around money, it's priceless. I'll tell you firsthand, I used to think I wanted money in my account. Then I got money in my account, and I was still freaked the F out all the time because I was worried there wasn't going to be more, and I was scared to spend what was in my account because I didn't know if more was coming. And now I can have the firsthand tangible experience of complete and total peace of mind with very little money in my account. And as I have cultivated that, I found that is really what I desired. I wasn't after money. That's why it's off inside of you for going after money. You don't want money. You want peace of mind. Well, in our society, money and peace of mind kind of go hand in hand. And if you don't untangle all of your emotions around money, you're always going to have this struggle. Money will always have the power over you, and its appearance or disappearance in your life will always affect you in a not so good way. So check out this power shift, see if it's something that you're ready for. And I would love to invite you to continue this conversation. That's what we do during the 21 days. It's simple, bite-sized little pieces of information, simple self-reflections. If you want to do some journaling for deeper integration, that option's there. You also get a visual reminder. You get a little song for the day. So it helps to tie it all together. And it's just one thought, one action. It's so digestible, and it is completely life-changing. And it's just delivered to your inbox day after day for 21 days. And it's a total game changer, total life changer. It is the most powerful course that I have out there to date that's in packaged form. And I highly, highly, highly recommend that you check it out if you're somebody who's been struggling with the money piece. If everything else is good, it's just you get kind of pissed off or scared shitless whenever money is mentioned, this course is for you. Believe me, you will not regret it. And it is all about receiving. It's about understanding those boundaries. It's about learning how to receive, because you have to know how to do that. Chances are, if you're watching this, you've mastered the art of giving. Now it's time to master the art of receiving. All right, y'all. I feel like I have gone over my intended time for today. I hope it was super powerful and impactful for you. I would love any feedback, any thoughts, anything. Bring it my way. I want to know what you liked about this series, what you're taking away from this series, and if there's anything further on these topics that you'd love to know about. If you know already that you would love to continue this conversation, I invite you to check out my mastermind. You can check that out. What's the website? I have it on my website. So holisticrestoration.com/services/mastermind. I know you can find it there. Sorry, I can't remember the bit.ly link, but you can definitely find out more information there. It's a great way to get supported in this process in a way that really fits where you're at. And you can also just join the Consciouspreneur Club. It's my open group on Facebook. Anybody's welcome to join if you're a business owner or not. We have this level of conversation happening all the time. And on Monday, we're kicking off this month or next month, since it'll be October. We will be checking out the Transform Fear into Confidence Challenge, which is a free 5-day challenge perfectly catered for conscious entrepreneurs to move from this state of fear into a confident place so you can take unstoppable action. I thank you so much for making it this far in the training. I hope it was great and value-packed. Joy says, going to definitely rewatch this. Thank you, Chrissy. You are so welcome, Joy. So glad that you are here on the line. And everybody else that was here live, thank you so much for holding the space and just being present as I deliver this message that's so passionate, that I'm so passionate about. Join me back again today. I'm going to go live again at 3:15 to bring a mystery bonus training, something probably around what's in your path of manifesting so that you can clear the way and really attract the life that you desire to have. And that's a hot topic for us conscious entrepreneurs. And yeah, I thank you. Thank you for following along in this series. Hope to continue our relationship over in the Consciouspreneur Club, deepen our relationship over in the mastermind, and I would love for you to take on the 21-day money power shift with me. So reach out, let me know how I can support you further. Thanks again for following this training, and I will see you around Facebook most likely. Bye, y'all.